Okay. We could first start off with an introduction, including your name, your role in the community, your relationship to Humboldt, things like that.
My name is Ray Olson. I'm a community producer. I produce a series called Humboldt Outdoors, along with some other programming. And I live in the community, and I love the community, and I spend a lot of time outdoors. Humboldt Outdoors is a series based in Access Humboldt for community access television that covers interesting slices of life and history in Humboldt County. Everything from naval history to tours of towns like Bridgeville, the Trinidad Lighthouse. And we have a number of historians who help us convey this information. Luckily, I've been able to travel all over the world, and there's nowhere else I want to be other than Humboldt County. There are definitely different scales of film productions here in Humboldt County, and they all have a wonderful fit to our life here. First off, let's start at the top. You have the big productions that roll in, and they're a lot of fun. They create a lot of frenzy, people, activity. They're in the news. And then stepping down from that, you have a few local independent film companies, and they're also fantastic. Now, those are all people who live here, so they imbue a lot of that specialness of Humboldt County into their productions. And those go out to other viewing platforms. Some of them are streamed or they're played at independent theaters or where else they go. Now, moving down, or I shouldn't say moving, it's not really down, but across, you come to the kind of stuff like what I enjoy doing and some other local creatives. We're just nimble. We have our one camera with limited tech equipment, and we go out and film community access programming. The value of local community programming, like what I and some other creatives do, I feel, is we're out there in the community interacting with segments of Humboldt County a lot of locals don't even know about. Great example. There's an old World War II ship below the Samoa Cookhouse, and there's a half dozen veterans that go there regularly to rebuild this old World War II ship. They've been doing this for years. Nobody knew about them. I heard through the grapevine about these guys. So I spent months and months going there, filming them doing their work. And it's a wonderful story. And I got to know these guys. They're friends now. I go visit them once in a while. So, and now I could share that with the rest of the Humboldt community. And it's a great story. It's a tremendous personal journey for us to enmesh ourselves in aspects of Humboldt County that we didn't know about before, but we got to experience ourselves through this process. Whenever we film our community access programs, Humboldt Outdoor Series or others, we always feel like as if we're doing it in the spirit of community service. We're not creating a YouTube channel that we're monetizing, we're going to get money on. We're not out there trying to get views on some social media. We're creating community programming to enlighten those who watch it in the community about different lesser known aspects of the county. So there's a lot of fulfillment in that. It's not monetary fulfillment. It's a fulfillment of contributing to the social matrix and the social interweaving of this beautiful Humboldt County. It helps them understand that our community is very diverse, a lot of different types of people, a lot of different types of activities. And they all go together to complete the whole. And I think as people can understand that more, it helps them be more tolerant of all these differences. And also it helps them appreciate, especially sometimes if they feel like we're living in trying times, how fortunate we are we live in this beautiful county with so many wonderful people all doing these interesting activities. So I think socially that helps sort of raise the spirits of people who live here. It's really a fantastic experience for creative people that are involved in our Humboldt Outdoor Series. It's a journey. It's a journey with a wonderful gift at the end. A finished episode you can watch a year from now. So yeah, it's great. We're having a good time.
Gregg Foster interview.
Ooh, look at that, a clapper. I'm gonna get you a real one. I'm Gregg Foster. I'm here at the Eureka Theater. I'm the president of the board of the Eureka Theater. I'm also executive director of the Redwood Region Economic Development Commission and a native of Humboldt. I grew up in southern Humboldt County and left and came back. So been in the county for 60 years. So you're in the main auditorium of the Eureka Theater. The theater opened in March 4th, 1939. It was the flagship theater of a chain of theaters built by a man by the name of George Mann. It operated continuously until 1996 when it was closed and abandoned and was picked up by a nonprofit that's been operating it ever since, about 5 years after that. And we've been slowly restoring and also showing movies and live events in here. Well, it's interesting, when the theater was built, the big industries were timber, fishing, and farming. It opening in 1939, those industries were suffering a bit because of the Depression. It had been 10 years old. Now it's still timber and fishing and farming are still big parts of the economy, but we're much more diverse with a lot of other small manufacturers, and the university, of course, has grown quite a bit. Distance to market is a big deal. We don't have a lot of people here, right? And so if we make something here, we have to sell a lot of that out of the area, but because it's a long ways away, there's a lot more cost, and it's more cost to bring materials in to make things. So that's our biggest problem is that we're just distant from where all the population centers are, and that affects us. In the old days, that was less of an issue because we had something none of them had but needed. We had a lot of lumber, which is still true. We had foodstuffs, whether fishing or ranching and farming. And as the cities of the West grew really rapidly in the early 20th century, Humboldt really boomed as we extracted all those things and sent them out of the area. Of course, that has a longer term impact, which is that there was environmental destruction going on here. And those are finite resources to a certain extent. You can only cut down all the old, so many old growth trees before they're gone. And then we had to change what we did in the lumber industry. I was on the tourism board many years ago, and that was where the Film Commission started. And the Film Commission is a nonprofit here that's goal is to attract filming here and make some money for the community. So I think that happens a few ways. One of which is just the direct impact when they're here. They may not be here for a long time, but sometimes they spend a fair amount of money on goods and services. That's hotels, catering, support, even extras. They'll spend a lot of money on goods and services while they're here. So that's a direct impact. I think also when we see this kind of filming, and these are big films and small films. There's small independent films, there's commercials, there's all sorts of things being done here. It creates this creative class here that's kind of interesting and can do other things culturally that I think support us. And it's a great way to get the scenery out. They filmed up here because it was exotic, right? These trees didn't exist anywhere else, and so when you wanted certain exotic locales, and even in the very early movies, they came here. So we have this organization that can help with all the permitting and all the logistics, and also promote the value of filming to the tourism industry and other service industries here. So I think people are pretty excited about it. It's something that you don't see very many places. I mean, for a small area, we do get a fair amount of filming. And again, it's big movies and all the way down to commercials. And I think that's really interesting. You see a car commercial on TV and you go, hey, I know that place. That's, the Lost Coast, or that's the Avenue of the Giants. It's kind of fun to see that. Well, the theater is interesting because it was built during the Depression. And filming really became there was a lot of growth during Depression, which, you think about starting in the late 20s and all the way until the end of World War II, basically, and how much film was used to divert and uplift people during this time of real economic troubles in the country. I mean, 25% unemployment, it was a really bad time, but movies grew. And it became a very affordable luxury for people to go out and see a movie. This theater, when it opened, had 1,700 seats in it. That's a big venue for what was really, Eureka still is a small town, but it was really a small town. And it was, there were 3 theaters within a couple blocks of here. It was a great way for people to kind of escape the reality. They could go see the big dance Ziegfeld Follies or big things on the screen, and really live through that. And it was also how people got news. I mean, there was no television or very little. And so they would show newsreels before the films to see what was going on. You could have the radio, but you could actually see, which is really a new thing, right? See news, because you couldn't see news up until the movie started showing those shorts. So it had a really, from an entertainment and a society, a huge impact in information on how things went. We have old photos here, just people lined all the way up the block to get in to come see the movies, and it was a great escape for folks. The old days of huge crowds of movie theaters are really gone, and to a certain extent that's really unfortunate, because I think that you'll say, well, I watch it on my laptop or I watch it on my big screen TV at home. You just don't get the same experience, both as a shared experience of enjoying entertainment and just the quality of sound and picture, which is, the essence of what film is, other than the writing and some of the other stuff. And so that means, like, for us, we've really had to change. We're a movie theater. We still have the big movie screen and we still have, show movies here, but we're doing a lot of live entertainment, which is kind of funny because the very first movie theaters were often either redone vaudeville theaters, so they would have live entertainment and orchestra pits and backstages and stuff like that. And so we're kind of going back to that model again, where you have movies, but you also have live entertainment. And that's really what's saving a lot of these old theaters, is the live entertainment piece.
I am Cassandra Hesseltine. I'm the film commissioner for Humboldt Del Norte Film Commission. I accumulatively have been here for a long time. I went to college here, started my family here, moved away for a handful of years there, and then came back. So the Film Commission is a liaison between productions and the area you represent. So we represent Humboldt and Del Norte counties in Northern California. We're 2 of over 40 Film Commission offices in the state of California. And we market to productions, as well as we have a museum of cinema where we do exhibits of productions that have filmed here in the past 100 years. I think the biggest significance of the Film Commission in the community is we help with job creation, as well as vendors being hired. That's the first part when a production comes to town. So connecting those dots and bringing outside dollars from a production into the area, boosting the economy. That's the first part when it comes to production. The second part is film tourism. Again, bringing outside dollars with outside tourists that come to the area, but also quality of life for locals in regards to celebrating something, to be able to say, we have the bragging rights for the film sites for the Forest Moon of Endor in Star Wars Return of the Jedi. To be able to celebrate the festival for that, to be able to take friends and family to film sites of something that was epic or important to that person. So when productions come to town, that's outside dollars that come to the area. And that's very significant. It's always great when a local spends money within the local area and that money recirculates in the economy. But honestly, it's the outside dollars that really make the biggest impact, because for every dollar that they spend when they come here on the movie or TV show or whatever the project is, it really translates to $3 or $2.95. So if someone spends $1 million in the area in January, it feels like $3 million in January. That's when hotels and restaurants usually have the lowest amount of business. And so the impact feels really great. And then those dollars circulate within the economy. For instance, we had Leonardo DiCaprio for One Battle After Another, which comes out pretty soon here, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and starring Regina Hall, Sean Penn, Leonardo DiCaprio. When it was filming in January, so amazing time for outside dollars to be coming to the area. It was also pretty rainy, miserable January. We've been having some beautiful Januaries, and we went back to a little bit of the harder weather. And I was told by some individuals that lived around the corner from one of the locations that it made their winter. And I was really surprised because I thought I was going to get a complaint about, oh, we had to park somewhere else. We couldn't, all the traffic and everything that was near their apartment. To hear that just like really warms my heart, to know that the novelty of something unique and kind of interesting like that for them really kind of boosted their morale. It's been amazing to work with celebrities. It's also been amazing to work with just, really good humans. It was fun to work on like Bird Box with starring Sandra Bullock to show one photo. I was asked if we have a epic river with a fork in it, and I was like, do we have an epic river with a fork in it? And I showed one photo of the Smith River, and they said, okay, we'll be there in a week. So there's been really fun milestones like that. Also, A Wrinkle in Time, that movie, which was a Disney film, they went out of their way to make sure that they donated extra food to like the homeless shelter. They had kids come to set. I think it was about 6 theater students, got to come to set and see what it's like. So they did a lot of community outreach. Same for M. Night Shyamalan. He was amazing. He didn't have to, but he ran into somebody, I think at a restaurant, where somebody asked him if he would come ever and speak to the film students of this gentleman's class that he had. And out of the blue, he got a phone call that M. Night Shyamalan wanted to come and talk, and he did, So we've had some amazing community outreach when they're here, and that's also pretty special to have that part when they're in town, and when people realize like what they get to do is amazing, and when they share that with others, it's pretty sweet. Yeah, prior to being film commissioner, I loved my community. I went to school here. I got married here. I had my children here, built 2 houses, had kids go through school here, best friends here. Really I've lived life, in the region. But being the film commissioner really kind of changed things for me, because that's when I really realized the impact of what we were doing for quality of life, it brings tears to my eyes. But it was more than just being an individual. Oh my God, I'm totally crying. Hang on. Okay, ask me the question again. Yeah. And now being film commissioner, it is different. Definitely showed me a different part of being part of this community. All those other things were very personal and private in my life individually. And now I feel more like I'm part of the whole overall organism. I have to work with the different government agencies for the different towns, cities, county, vendors and lodging alliance and the restaurants and crew and just the people who live here. And so I feel like I know a lot now, not just the locations, but all the people that live on those locations, and working with everybody and wanting the best for my community while helping people tell their stories, So for me, it's a win-win, having a love affair for Humboldt and Del Norte County, and then also love working in film and storytelling. So in the significance of knowing that hopefully the projects we're working with are bringing dollars to the area, which is benefiting people financially, is lifting people's spirits, helping them with quality of life. We've gotten that with the Forest Moon Festival as well, where we've had little kids like have stars in their eyes, and ask us, did you bring Disneyland? And there's a lot of families here who can't necessarily make a trip down to Southern California to go to Disneyland, can't afford the gas and the hotel and the food and the day passes. Again, it's a novelty, but it's more than that, because I think it's spurs a fantasy, a creativity in the brain of that they can be part of that, and that uniqueness, and that that it's not so obsolete and out of, grabs, way or whatever. So it's really neat to watch the brain of these little kids when they see a stormtrooper for the first time, or someone in one of our professional costumers that come up to the area, and you can just see their imagination going and the creativeness. And yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what some of these kids grow up to do, because I think it's really neat that we're bringing this to them.